Good morning, everybody. Good to be here, Ron. Thanks for that intro. Really appreciate it. And yeah, down here in South Florida with Huntress, and we are cybersecurity, a niche player that will complement just about any existing security team or security stack. We're actually going to have, Ron, a little different, slightly different presentation. We're going to have a guest appearance today from this character over here on the right. So keep an eye out for Creepy Mickey as we go through the presentation, and you'll see where he fits in. We'll help to, I think, explain a little bit about what's going on out there in cybersecurity. So we got Creepy Mickey out there, but I'm going to take you through a little bit of education. We're not going to go down the path that a lot of folks do of what's happening out there and scare tactics and all the different breaches. You all know what's going on. You see it in the headlines. And you're worried about your financial data, your customer data, all of that is absolutely critical to your business, and how do you protect and be able to defend as best you can. And I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the attack vectors or techniques that's used today, where over 90% of the attacks these days are using something called persistent threats. We're going to go down that path a little bit and take you through what that means, and then show you how Huntress is able to help augment your existing staff or become that response team. But that's the smaller part of the presentation. What I want to do is take you down the path of what's going on out there, and to help educate a bit on the latest attacks. But what they're doing is they're using these things called persistent tactics, or planting footholds that bypass traditional defense or preventative tools. The bad actors have figured out ways to outsmart the known goods or known bads, which is what a lot of the tools are looking for. And they figured out how to outsmart those. If you look at any of the headline-making attacks, somewhere in the article, the fine print, the recap on it, you're going to read about them opening up a back door and something called dwell time. And what they're doing is looking to get into your environment. So if you look at your financial data, your customer data, all the information you have, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to break through your front door, get inside the house, and know exactly where to go. What they want to do is dwell there for days, weeks, or months. And the way they do that is they open up these hidden back doors, or plant these hidden back doors, stay in your environment. Now they can bounce around and go lateral across your network. They can go into different databases, and then start to figure out what they want to get. And that takes usually weeks to months at a time. And they want to stay there hiding in plain sight, as they say. So that's a persistent tactic or foothold. We'll show you a little bit about why that's important in a minute. We typically complement existing security stacks. If you're focused on security, or talk to your security team, they for sure are going to have lots of security tools in there, and we're going to complement just about all of those. And we're simple and affordable. One of our threat researchers, John Hammond, works for us. He's over 300,000 YouTube followers, or close to it these days. Pretty well known out there in the cybersecurity community. And he's a researcher that works for us, constantly looking at the latest attacks and techniques. John estimates that over 90% of these attacks these days are using these persistent tactics. Stay there for, again, days, weeks, or months. And it makes sense. If you're a bad actor, hacker looking to get in, you don't want to brute force in every time, either a phishing attempt or a breakthrough with password breach, or what's called the remote desktop or RDP ports that are open. So 90% of the attacks are working hard to get in once, and then once they're inside, they're going to sit there again for days, weeks, months at a time, and therefore they can come and go as they want and don't realize they're in your environment until it's too late. And that's why over 90% are using those hidden back doors, because they can come and go as they want, be able to snoop around, gather data, and then eventually exfiltrate or encrypt the data, or hold you hostage with that data. Persistence, just as a definition, you can hear me say that a few times, is that adversaries trying to maintain that foothold. What they want to do again is open up that back door, which we've talked about. The persistence tactics are inside of the typically Windows OS, and Mac is also doing the same thing these days. It's a good thing. Microsoft put in there, like your system clock is persistent. Every time you reboot that machine, that clock needs to be there. So that's a good use of a persistent technique, a persistent script. What the bad actors are doing is they want to hijack those or plant legitimate code inside that environment so that when this machine is restarted, whether it's restored from a backup after a breach, chances are that hidden backdoor is still in there. So MITRE, who's a nonprofit research organization, defines it pretty well for us by wanting to replace or hijack that. Just a little bit about foundational and good practice in building out that security coverage model or stack. Is we use something called NIST. Some of you may be familiar with it, National Institute Standards and Technology, and they have a cybersecurity framework or CFM, and it goes through and looks at how do you properly protect. First thing you want to do is identify what it is that you need to protect. In your case, certainly your financial data, customer data, all of that which you hold close to your chest. You need to protect and properly secure that. And then how do you block at that front door, what's called protect or prevention tools? And there's tools in there that typically will be stacked up. Then you get into detect. Once something's gotten past that protect mode, protect stage, then you've got to now start to hunt and detect if somebody's inside your house snooping around, gathering data, exfiltrating data, and eventually, hopefully not, but then encrypting the data and then hitting it with ransomware, holding it hostage. So you've got to detect and put, offensively hunt in that space. Respond if you do find something. How do you minimize it and remediate it? And then, of course, backup recover, which has been around forever and a day, but keeps getting better and better to be able to make sure that you are able to restore or replicate data. All sorts of folks out there. We're not the only ones that are looking for mindshare and talk to you or your security team about what's needed. There's hundreds of folks out there. But we really are unique. Everybody tells you that, but we do complement the existing. Typically what happens is no matter how big or small your company is and what your team is, usually very, very solid and pretty deep on that protect to prevent, next-gen antivirus, endpoint detection, all the things that are in that particular stack. And then, of course, recover and data replication and restore. What's missing quite often is the human expertise that's needed to hunt in that detect and respond, because those individuals, and if you have a cybersecurity team, you can certainly relate that they are very, very difficult and expensive to come by. There's a huge shortage across the globe on cybersecurity professionals. So even if you have a team that is in that detect and respond, chances are they're spread pretty thin and looking for help. And if you don't have that dedicated cybersecurity team, we can become that team by giving you active incidents and telling you how to remediate. But back to a little bit of the education. You want to round this out with NIST and make sure that you've got protection and defense in depth at each of those. If we take a look at our Mickey for a second, and this is where Mickey fits in, we got our creeping Mickey on the right. What's interesting is most of the prevention tools that are out there that you're using are using software, and they need to block at that front door, and they're going to be right most of the time. But they're looking for known goods and known bads. There's certain algorithms that are written. So we bring Mickey into this just to make a point that Mickey on the left has got two big ears, he's got a big nose, he's got a bow tie perhaps, and his big shoes. Well, if you take a look at the Mickey on the right, to a computer or to software, they might actually look the same. So the typical prevention software is going to look and say, hey, he's got two big ears, he's got a nose, he's got a bow tie. I guess that's a check, that's a good thing. Obviously, you can have a 2-year-old look at that and know that Mickey on the left doesn't equal Mickey on the right. So if you put human context into the mix, it's very clear and quick, but you need to be able to put eyeballs or human context in there versus just relying on software. And that's where you play offense in that detect and respond. So we're looking in our case, and if you've got that cybersecurity team, their job is to constantly watch and look for things that don't look right, that protect or prevention layer has missed, because again, to a computer and to software, Mickey left equals Mickey right, which obviously it doesn't. So you have to put humans in the mix, play offense when you're in detect and respond, got to count on that defense with that protect layer, but once something's been compromised, this is where that dwell time starts, and again, upwards of 100+ days that they want to stay in that environment. And actually what they want to try to do is outlast that recovery period of the backup. So if you're backing up for 60 or 90 days, no coincidence that the average dwell time these days is 100+. They want to outlast the backup so that if you do recover and restore, there's a good chance that that hacker's back door that's hidden is still in there under the covers. We are hunting in that space, specifically focused on finding those back doors with a combination of people and technology, as opposed to just using technology, which does a good job in that defense, put humans in the mix to play offense to the right. Bringing it home, why do you detect threats? Why do we threat hunt in general? Want to detect threats without a predefined alert. Predefined alerts are great for defense. They're going to be right 99% of the time. But when they're wrong, that's when havoc starts to come into your environment. So if you take a look at what's going on with an actual attack, and this is MITRE, if you're not familiar with it, you or your security team should be bookmarking this one. It's, again, nonprofit research organization. They actually map the anatomy of an attack. So if you look at this from left to right, just about every attack these days is going to use some sort of initial access. They're going to phish to get in. They're going to use that remote desktop or RDP port. They're going to use something to get in, brute force in that one time, execute some sort of a software run, and then plant this persistence and open up the back door. And this is where it all begins for that hacker. Now they can do everything to the right, escalate privileges, they can get credential access, they can laterally move from system to system across your network. Discovery is key for you, right? They want to get in there, go find that financial data, find your customer data, whatever it may be that you want to guard, make sure they don't get. They're going to go looking around, discovering it, then they're going to collect it, command and control to take over at a system level to be able to control the environment and come and go. And then this is where it gets pretty nasty, is exfiltrate the data, impact it with either holding you hostage or going ahead and encrypting that data, which is the impact. So where we focus and where we can either become that sole threat hunter in your environment or augment your existing team, if you've got existing cybersecurity professionals. So either way, we're going to hunt narrow and deep in that persistence column. We're relying on your prevention tools to do that initial access and block at the front door. But once they get inside, we want to break that chain and boot them out, close that back door that's been silently opened, and that way they can't get to discovery, payload, gathering your data, anything else that is to the right of persistence in that MITRE attack matrix. Our business, a little bit of commercial messaging. Founders came out of the NSA, recently secured a $40 million Series B round, a lot of cash in the bank. Kyle, our CEO, winning a top performer award at the NSA. They were there for 10 years. Their job was to open up these hidden back doors against our foreign adversaries. Intel teams could come and go as they wanted to. They would stay there for months to years at a time in their case and never got busted. Here's Kyle winning Capture the Flag, a DEF CON competition, which is a worldwide global competition. They won back in 2012, pretty highly regarded in that cybersecurity community, and typically would place top 10. We now help to sponsor those and put some of those on for different teams to help teach and educate. For your team, if you do have cybersecurity at whatever level, somebody focused on security, which I would imagine all of you do, at some level, we're out there always giving back to the community, lots of education going on. No Huntress commercial in the education part of it, just to help kind of raise the tide for all to bring that cybersecurity defense and knowledge base up. Very successful, actually close to 1 million endpoints for agents at this point. Been around for now 6 years and well known in that cybersecurity community. A little bit about how it works. I'm not going to go into this at this point. If you want to go deeper with us, be glad to set up a follow-up. We'll take you through a little deeper into it, show your folks the dashboard and how it works. Here's the key to it, though, and the reason I put this up is that our system has a little small agent that runs. It's under the covers. No one knows it's there. We're sending our data up to our cloud, and then our threat ops team, the human threat ops team, will look through that data. And only when they find something that is malicious are we going to come knocking on yours or your team's door to tell you, we did all this activity, all the investigations, didn't bother you. You can look at it if you want, but here's the key. We're going to send you the report, tell you what we found, where we found it, all the way through, and then we're going to give you a step-by-step green remediation button. So if you click that, we'll clean all that up and simplify it. And if you click approve, our agent, our software agent, will go ahead and deploy that for you and take care of it. So there's no alert fatigue. All that's going to our threat ops team. We're human threat ops. Price point is high end at $5 per agent per month and goes down from there depending on the quantity that you have. So for human threat hunting, We believe that we're reasonably priced. The key is that we're human threat ops augmented by our software, and then we're only knocking on your door when you need to do something. We'll tell you what to do, and we'll give you a green approve button so a tech can go ahead and just click that, get on with their day, go on to something else that is at that point needs to be focused on, but not focus on having to worry about Huntress, because we're going to do it for you. Here's what our team's doing. Hunting for persistence we talked about. We're doing investigations. This is the key. NSA trained threat ops team that knows how to reverse engineer and look in places that others don't. You'll get that incident report only when you need to do something, and we also do, which I mentioned, all kinds of research and giving back. Our blog is a great place to go, just huntress.com/blog. And again, you won't see a commercial message in there. It's really more about what's going on and what we're doing to help educate and train folks. We were out there way up front, if you're familiar with the Kaseya attack, the exchange breach, all sorts of different attacks. We are usually first on the scene to help folks and just, again, to give back to that community. So we fit in that detect and respond. Price point we hit before. There is a trial available. Follow up with us, and we can take you through a little deeper, or with your team, we can go into that dashboard. This is what it looks like, by the way, just to show you that, and I will wrap up in a second. Real simple, real clean. The only thing you need to worry about is active incidents. Everything else that's going on, we show, but no one needs to do anything until you need to actually go in there and click and remediate, as I showed before. And that is it, Ron.